Good morning, everyone. Freddie here. I wanted to just jump in this morning and uh, do one of these videos while I'm driving because I'm thinking a lot this morning about what the kind of content I've been putting out, and recently I've been talking a lot about rest, and I think you know sometimes what can happen is uh, oddly enough, that you need to practice what you preach. And so, wanted to jump in here and just share a little bit about my day yesterday and uh, take a second to just, be open and transparent. And, I think sometimes what happens when you are kind of just pushing and grinding, um, is that, especially as a business owner, if you're running a small business, then you are likely, you know really really pushing and working hard. And I don't think that's inherently a bad thing, um, because we need to make it happen. And however, I do think there are moments where you get so kind of caught up in the chaos that all of a sudden you realize that everything has been compounding over time, and then you just kind of reach a breaking point without realizing it. And that's what happened to me yesterday, actually. So, you know, I got I had a couple moments that really really overwhelmed me, and some hard conversations, some overwhelm with just all the things I have to balance. And uh, I think it wasn't actually one of those situations where it wasn't even the hard conversations, it wasn't even the work itself that was overwhelming me. I think it was just, again, what I mentioned earlier, the compounding over time of, as a business owner, as a small business owner especially, you kind of just feel this effect of like, oh, I don't know if I'm actually okay. And it's one of those times where you think you have had it all together, and then you don't. And I wanted to really point out two important things to me. The first is, um, I think sometimes when we're resting and we're trying to kind of like almost recover, because I think there's a difference between the two. But one of the most important things to me is that I have been trying to like grow in myself is when things get really stressful and I get overwhelmed, I have a natural tendency to isolate. And that's what I did yesterday. I was really overwhelmed with everything, and then I just like popped into my coffee shop, put my headphones on, and just started cranking it out. And uh, that's just, you know, my natural tendency. For you, it might be different. And the mistake there is that I isolated myself and I kept it all to myself, and I was kind of suffering in silence. And unfortunately, that kind of made me eventually spiral down toward the afternoon. And from there, I went on a walk and I'm kind of losing it. I'm probably passing by people in downtown Alpharetta, and they're probably wondering why this dude is like crying, like uh, all that stuff. But I think this is there's something really important here. Um, Instead of suffering in silence, what would happen if you just reached out? That's what happened to me. That was the question that came to mind, and I actually ended up texting a friend of mine named Nate, who has become a mentor to me. And I texted him, and it was kind of a long shot. I was like, I don't know. I don't see him around today, but I'm going to try. I'm just going to reach out, and told him I was having a bad day. And he says, this. You'll see the message pop up here on the screen. But he had already left the co-working space we're at, and he was 20 minutes out. He wasn't even like that close. And he ends up turning around and basically being like, we're going to chat. And so I have this crazy moment where I'm sitting in this little kind of courtyard area in downtown, and I'm having, a meltdown. And I think there's just something like this, just like a good reminder of like what happens when you just make that effort to just reach out and be vulnerable. And that moment actually probably saved my day. Like, I ended up, chatting with Nate for a while and praying together and processing. And, there's something really incredible and powerful about someone who kind of understands where you've been. So that's maybe another tip. Find a mentor. uh, find someone who's kind of ahead of you in life. But he just poured so much wisdom and care and even challenge into me. And I think that is something we just need to recognize, that when we feel like we can't pull it together and like actually pause and rest, sometimes what you need to do is reach out. And that I'm so grateful that I reached out, because typically I would hold it all inside, like I said. And I did earlier. I probably should have reached out to Nate earlier if I was real. So I have this incredible conversation, and he challenged me. And hilariously enough, no matter how much you preach it and teach it, sometimes you also need someone on the outside saying to you the same thing. And that is the big challenge to me from Nate was, hey, you need to stop and you need to refill your soul, refill your heart, refill the batteries, recharge a little bit. And so that's the other challenge for you today. If one, that is reach out. The second thing is exactly what we've been talking about this whole kind of series of videos, which is in our resting loop, we have to recognize when to pause. And eventually, sometimes you need someone to help you get through the other steps, which is, in my case, thinking back, Nate kind of helped me get to the place of like really kind of pausing and then getting to the next couple steps. And sometimes like surrender also like means vulnerability. And you kind of just like lay this on the table, that thing that you're carrying, and you lay it down, and it's like, whoa, okay, I'm glad I laid that down. And I needed help laying that down. And so once you are in a place, once you're in a place like that, like me, I was able to receive this challenge and this, very gentle, like kind way of just being like, Freddie, you need to stop and recharge. And I was able to just receive. So I did that. I didn't work. I went to my coffee shop. I also had another moment where I was loved really well by the baristas. Shout out to Valor Coffee and the amazing baristas there. There's a picture here of this incredible like prayer they wrote on my cup, which is just I was done. I didn't know what else to do but to hug them. So shout out to Morgan, Sam, and Gabby for loving me well, loving me well in that moment. And then I just got to spend time with my family. I went to the card shop with my son, and we found him an awesome Charizard. And then had dinner with my wife and my daughter, and it was just a really solid time to recharge. And this morning I just felt like the combination of all of that really, really put me in a better place this morning. And it's not like all the complexity and all the tough stuff is done, but it's more like the load is lighter now, that I'm not trying to carry it on my own. And so that's the whole point, is like, it's not that you're trying to like obliterate and disintegrate the hard thing that you're going through, but it's making the load a little lighter. And that makes resting a lot easier to do. So that's my encouragement for you guys today. Hope that wasn't too long, but yeah, I hope everyone has a great day, and we'll keep talking about rest this week.